This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telecel 4G, just a touch. Coming up, former President Mahama describes President Akufo-Addo's directive for the two leading political parties to meet to end party militia as too simplistic.
But I think that the structure he's suggesting won't work. Just to tell MPP, invite your brothers NDC to come and sit and see how you can ban these measures. It's too simplistic.
And even as the leadership of the NDC and NPP commit to meet on the matter, we'll get to hear from the NCC chairperson who says a clear roadmap must be established. We'll get to hear from her. And with barely 24 hours to NDC flagbearer election, the party leadership has come under accusation of bias by some candidates. We'll hear from Joshua Alabi, who says executives abandoned plan to transport and feed delegates, forcing one candidate to provide for them.
What we are hearing is that the national executive will not be transporting them, will not be feeding them, and that is one candidate who is going to do that. I think it's unfortunate and sad. They have said that one man is popular. Let the system flow and let's see how it goes. When they bring you food, it is the party's food. It's not coming from an individual.
We'll also hear from Dr. Kospio Gabra and get some reactions from the party. MPs who held a bloody widow placard in Parliament may never be punished as it emerges. The clerk is unable to identify them in the video footage.
The identification of the specific members has been a challenge. The tapes are not as visible as we're being told from the Public Affairs Directorate.
Surprised? We'll get details shortly. In sports,
I'm not surprised. Ghana could get another world title in boxing this weekend as Emmanuel Gameboy Tego fights Russian Vyacheslav Gusev for the IBF International Lightweight title at the Bukom Boxing Arena. We are in the camp of Gameboy to find out how prepared he is.
Does the Quran permit men to beat their wives? We'll hear from one Islamic scholar who says it is wrong for men to use the literal meaning of some parts of the Quran after some men suggested so. We have details and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. We'll settle for the details now. And in our very first story, former President John Dramani Mahama is calling on President Akufo-Addo to show better leadership in the fight against party militias. The president at a State of the Nation address yesterday directed the two leading political parties to meet to end the activities of party militias next week. But speaking on an Accra-based radio station, Radio Gold, the former president described the directive as too simplistic, saying it will not work. According to him, the government has already embedded the vigilante groups into the country's security system.
We have. And so I'm happy he's taking the initiative to try and resolve the matter. But I think just asking the parties to meet and resolve it is not enough. There are several other stakeholders that must be brought on board. I mean, you have the Peace Council, you have security experts who all have to be invited to the table to look at the phenomena of what to do and how to deal with it. How are we going to delist the vigilantes who are embedded in the security services already? How are we going to delist them out of there or neutralize them in a certain way? These are all questions that will bubble up. And NDC and NPP on their own cannot resolve those issues.
But would you say the president has shown leadership in the fight against vigilance?
Well, I called on him to show leadership. Listen to the tape of what I said in German. You know, I said that one, he's the president of this country, and if we have to solve this vigilante issue, he must take the initiative to resolve it. So one, the initiative has been shown. But I think that the structure he's suggesting won't work. Just to tell MPP, invite your brothers NDC to come and sit and see how you can ban vigilantes. It's too simplistic. There should be a better structuring of the issue. And to be good faith, people were shot and injured, you understand. It is criminal. The police must be carrying out investigations in the criminality of it. The fact that there's a commission of inquiry taking place does not mean that the police investigation must stop.
Former President John Dramani Mahama speaking on Radio Gold earlier today. Well, his position appears confusing, especially since his party leadership has committed to meeting the governing NPP. There's more in this News Desk report.
At long last, some real ray of hope that this country can well and truly pull from the brink. The threat of party militias to the country's democracy was threatening to explode. Just this week, one person was shot and killed. Another is still battling for his life. An incident blamed by the police on the party militia group affiliated to the NDC. Yesterday, in his State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo declared his commitment to fix the problem.
I have asked the leadership of the NPP to extend an invitation to the leadership of the NDC for such a meeting. If voluntary disbandment by the parties is not feasible, then I will initiate legislation in the matter.
As if the NDC knew what the president was about to say in his address, they had a day before already declared their willingness to meet with all parties over the matter. Samuel Opusu-Ampofo is a national chairman.
We as a party, we are prepared to sit around the table with all other political parties to discuss open, transparent manner. If we do not, we'll be laughing at the wrong side of our mouths. As political parties, the time has come for us to have a heart-to-heart discussion about the way forward.
The national organizer of the governing MPP, Sami Iwuku, says they will comply with the president's directive for them to reach out to the NDC.
We will work assiduously with our colleagues on the other side. Let me also commend the NDC's national chairman. In the last 24 hours, he has also made quite a great speech and position on this matter.
For us, as the multimedia group, we will keep the pressure on until the parties actually meet and find a solution to the problem as part of our campaign to stop party militias now.
That was a News Desk report. Meanwhile, Chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, Josephine Nkrumah, has called for a multi-stakeholder meeting to discuss the roadmap she says is required to effectively disband political party militias in the country. She also wants perpetrators punished as a deterrent, even as the two parties prepare to meet to find a permanent solution to the threat.
When you have a deterrent sentencing regime, I believe people will begin to set up, and the police should act swiftly and decisively with anybody who engages in this act and ensure that people in Ghana hear about it, and that in itself is a deterrent for these. Once you take away the politics or the political figures behind the activities of these thugs, it is nothing more than a crime. And our Criminal Offences Act has enough laws that deal with this. So what we should see is more prosecution in terms of the acts of vigilantism. And when we see more prosecution, vigorous and deterrent enough, then I believe people will begin to set up. I do not think that we need further legislation to deal with this matter.
Chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, Josephine Nkrumah. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's turn our attention now to Parliament, because the Office of the Clerk of the House says it is unable to identify MPs who have been cited for contempt for displaying bloody widow placards on the House's video footage. The Speaker had directed the minority MPs who displayed the placards earlier this month be identified from the footage and referred to the Privileges Committee after minority leadership refused to apologize for the act. But Deputy Majority Leader Adwo Asafo says the identification has been impossible.
Or picking up from the table office and the clerk's office is that indeed the tapes, they have a tape, but the identification of the specific members has been a challenge, and the tapes has been presented to the First Deputy Speaker. The Speaker, I want to assure members that leadership will take the matter up. If Parliament tapes are not as visible as we're being told from the Public Affairs Directorate, I believe that day there were other media men in the chamber who might have recorded what happened. So, Mr. Speaker, we won't rest on that. We'll make sure that the directions or directives by the First Deputy Speaker to get the tapes to identify specific members for purposes of contempt that has been cited, the Speaker will duly ensure that those tapes reach the First Deputy Speaker and the Privileges Committee.
So you heard that the Deputy Majority Leader, Sarah Dwasafo there, but my colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us live with more on this. So Joseph, help us understand. Is it that the video that Parliament has is not clear enough, or what?
This is the explanation the Deputy Majority Leader is giving, that from the footage they have, it's not clear. They are unable to specifically point out the specific entity holding onto the placard from the recording that was done with Parliament camera. She indicates that they've been in contact with the clerk's office, and the suggestion that has come up is that they would contact other media houses that were present on the day and possibly try to get the footages from them so that then the proper identification can be made. She's been speaking on the floor of the House.
And that has not been done already, Joseph? They have not contacted the media houses. They have not contacted the media houses yet. When are they hoping to do so?
So the Deputy Majority Leader indicates that the Office of the Clerk of Parliament will soon pick up that and contact the various media houses and get any additional footage they can lay hands on.
Interesting. Well, the Speaker has also been commending MPs for not displaying placards during yesterday's SONA. What more has he been saying about that?
He makes the point that yesterday there was a lot of comportment on the part of members of Parliament, both the majority and the minority side. And for him, it's an indication that they are going into the future with such behavior which would not see situations of placards being displayed. He drew attention to a directive he had given before that the use of placards in the House is unacceptable. And he says, henceforth, right from what happened yesterday, he looks forward to a situation where there won't be any incident of the display of placards, whether it's a president in the House or budget reading or anything like that.
Shall put an end to placards, catcalls, and allied activities which actually derive from the dignity of this honorable House. In fact, our standing orders prohibit placards in this honorable House. It is our decision, and all of us, that no matter what political party is in office, no president of the Republic shall be greeted in this honorable House without decorum, and which conduct or what conduct are unpalatable or non-decorous. Indeed, we are all agreed that placards that constitute contempt of this honorable House. The seventh Parliament has done something which has never happened in the political history of the Fourth Republic, and it should be recorded as a good example. And I congratulate all of you and hereby record it. Credit goes to both sides.
You heard the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay. Let's head to the stables of the NDC now, because in some 24 hours, the party will be electing their flag bearer for the next election. But candidate Professor Joshua Alabi is accusing the party's leadership of creating an avenue for a candidate to have a better advantage of winning the polls. Thousands of NDC members will head to various polling centers tomorrow to choose from amongst 7 individuals who leads the party in 2020. Professor Alabi tells Joy News the party has reneged on its pledge to provide food and means of transportation, as is stated as reason for charging high nomination and filing fee. We'll hear from him shortly, but first listen to General Secretary Johnson Asiedun on the high filing fees.
The cost of mobilizing close to 300,000 delegates, precisely it will be about 275,000 thereabout delegates at constituency centers.
Okay.
The least you will be spending in this mobilization, just moving them from their places to the constituency centers, will be 3 million, even if you are very, very prudent with the most prudent figures. You need to mobilize them to these centers and feed them. If you add feeding, you are getting somewhere beyond 4 million. Then, first of all, we will do printing of ballot papers. That cost is not determined by the National Executive. It is determined by the state of the economy and what they will be charging you. Apart from that, you need to engage the Electoral Commission and pay them for conducting and supervising the election throughout the country.
You heard Johnson Asiedun earlier on why they were charging the high filing fees. But Professor Joshua Alabi, who is contestant, says the playing field remains unequal, hours to the polls.
You know, when they charge the 320,000 cities and we say to debate that, they told us plain that it is meant for the logistics, which includes feeding and transport. In fact, we attended a meeting at the founder's house, all the aspirants. It's what they said. So for some of us, we're just going around campaigning, knowing very well that the other aspect of the whole thing will be taken up by the National Executive. But just some few hours to the election, what we are hearing is that the national executive will not be transporting them, will not be feeding them, and that is one candidate who is going to do that. I think it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that we should do this in a way to give a competitive edge to one candidate. I don't think it is good for our party.
Is that candidate the former president?
Well, so I hear, but I'm yet to verify. So I hear.
But have you made any efforts to engage the party on that matter, especially when they pledge that your hard-earned money that you were supposed to contribute, huge sums, will be used to provide for that?
I just landed from the voter region 3 a.m. today. You can get from my voice. But I left my team to discuss that. They have said that one man is popular. Let the system flow, and let's see how it goes. But if you say one man is popular, it's marketed already, and you are still going about this way, then it's funny to me.
Professor Joshua Alabi is not alone in this. Of course, Pio Gabra also shares the same concerns, but Professor Alabi remains confident he will come out victorious.
In this contest, we are 7. And the 7, 1 will win. 6 will have to just understand that is how it is. But I know that God Almighty will give it to me, and all of them will support me to move forward. When they bring you money for transport, just take it that it's the party money and not coming from an individual. When they bring you food, it is the party's food. It's not coming from an individual. You know what you do. You know what is right. We are reorganizing the NDC. And all of us, including you, the delegates, you are part. We shouldn't allow anything to influence us. Let's go and vote for the party. A vote for the party means that you are voting for the right candidate who has the message of transforming the NDC. And when you do that, then I'm sure you are voting for Professor Joshua Alabi. And when you vote for Professor Joshua Alabi, then me and you will team up, start work immediately to reorganize the NDC, to transform the NDC.
You heard Professor Joshua Alabi, a candidate in tomorrow's presidential race. Let's get some reactions on some of the allegations that he's made. We're privileged to be joined on the phone by the national organizer of the NDC, Mr. Joshua Kamba. Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. First of all, tell us about preparations for tomorrow's polls. Is all set?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the yes. All of the are all gone. Candidates have received their documentation. I'm sure that their agents are also ready for the elections tomorrow. The police have also taken charge of the elections. Like we said earlier, we had some intelligence that some people were going to be in some kind of uniform to try to cause confusion at the police station. We have told the police that we haven't sent anybody, and we are leaving the elections to the Ghana police to handle. So you can be assured that so far we haven't had any complaints on the grounds in respect of this election.
Now, there are direct allegations, at least we've heard from Professor Joshua Alabi's camp, that the party has reneged on its pledge to provide means of transport and food, forcing one candidate to do that. How do you respond to this?
I'm sure that the candidates, ever since this whole thing started, had had some kind of dialogue and discussions with members of the electoral committee chaired by the Honorable Kofi Ato, who is the chairman of the committee until the day before yesterday. He was the director of international relations. Now he's the vice chairman of the party. So we had some kind of agreement. We had guidelines prepared, conduct of the elections and what was going to be happening. And I'm sure Professor Joshua Alabi and his team have copies of these guidelines and what was required to be done at the police station.
So who is providing transport and food for the delegates?
I'm sure that the party is providing transport, and we have done that. We have discussed it with our constituencies.
You are sure, or the party is providing?
Yes, the party is providing, yes. And we have taken that is to do with people coming from far, but most of them are also within the areas that they are. That one, you don't expect that we'll give them money to go and vote. But we are looking at people coming from the interland that are supposed to come and vote. So we've done that arrangement and sending transportation for them to convey people to the voting center. Yes, exactly.
But Professor Joshua Alabi, at least in the claims he made, is that it looks like that is not being done by the party and that Mr. John Dramani Mahama is doing so. Is that true?
I'm sure you are not telling me to answer to Professor Joshua Alabi, but to tell you what the party is doing and what has been agreed to be done. So I'm telling you that the party has agreed that, yes, we're going to transport people, and we are doing that. We are transporting people to come and vote.
So the claims he's made are false, right?
I don't want to say they are false. I don't know where he is having his information from. But that if he's listening, that the party is making arrangements, and we've made arrangements with our regional and constituency executives to convey people to the voting centers. And that we are doing, yes.
We're grateful. That's the national organizer of the NDC, Joshua Akamba. Meanwhile, Joy News Checks review electoral materials are being sent to the various constituencies where the delegates will be voting. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam sent this in a while ago.
We are more than set and we're very ready for the comeback tomorrow. What should we expect tomorrow? We should expect free and fair elections tomorrow, God willing. God willing. How many people do you expect to come for the voting? We are expecting close to 10,000 plus delegates to come and vote. In terms of security, are they secure? Are the people secure? Plans are far advanced as well as security is concerned. And we have made sure that, because the party says they don't want security, party security comes. So the police is taking charge of security at all voting centers. So how soon do we expect to get the results? Oh, by 5 onwards we should expect the results. The voting starts at 7 and the vote ends at 5. By 5:30 onwards, results will start.
You heard there Ismail Dibku, he's in charge of the NDC's executives in the region, speaking to my colleague Rafiq Salam. At this point, we'll take a quick break. When we return, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta reviews 200 million cedis of depositors' monies locked up with gold dealership Men's Gold. He also announces a committee put together to liquidate assets of CEO Nana Apia Mensah, who's been arrested. We have details after the break. Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Let's do sports now with Ridwan Ibrahim Asante. What's in sports?
Yes, we have to do boxing lined up this weekend, and boxer Emmanuel Tego enters the ring tomorrow at the Bukom Boxing Arena against Russian Vyacheslav Gusev, and he'll be fighting for the IBF International Lightweight title. Game Boy, who has lost once in his 35 fight career, needs a win to improve his ratings within the top 15 of the IBF rankings. On the other hand, Gusev has a record of 25 wins and 5 losses. Abraham Kote Nikwe is manager of Tego, and he told Joy Sports the former IBO lightweight champion is in high spirit for the important victory tomorrow.
You know, this is very important for Emmanuel Tego. As I speak to you, Peter Khan from Lodibella is here to be with his boy. This being the last fight of Emmanuel Tego in Ghana is something that we, the Baby Jet team, have taken it serious. And the training section and everything is on point. We are expecting to give Ghanaians a very good show tomorrow night, and
you heard Albert Nikwe, Abraham Kote Nikwe, he's manager of Emmanuel Gameboy Tego tomorrow. Also, Kumasi Santiago to go in action this weekend. They play in Kana FC in Kitwe in Zambia in their third Group C match of the CAF Confederation Cup. The Kids Olympics wraps up this weekend and is tomorrow at the Ghana International School GIS, and the disciplines will be swimming, basketball and tennis.
We look forward to that. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has reviewed 200 million Ghana cedis of depositors' money is locked up with gold dealership firm Men's Gold. Hundreds of customers have appealed to government to help them retrieve their locked up funds, and during a State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo described the situation as a tragic phenomenon. Well, this morning, the President has been engaging with officers of the Ghana Armed Forces at Burma Camp in Accra, from where my colleague Elton Brobe joins us live. So, Elton, tell us more about the concerns of the officers with regards to the Men's Gold saga.
Right, so MFA, this was major as far as they are concerned, because some of them invested with men's gold, and because of what is happening to men's gold, they have their finances in that strain, and they demanded that President Akufo-Addo do something about it. We can listen to the concern as advanced by one of them at the Deba.
The majority of the military have invested into it, but all of a sudden they have put a stop into it. I know we are enjoying it well, so I know, Mr. President, you can use your office in Jesus' name.
So what was the president's response?
President Rwanda asked the finance minister to respond to the matter, since it related more to finance than administration. The finance minister's issue is that they are in the process of liquidating some property and assets belonging to Nana Appiah Mensah, and then if they are able to raise some money, they will begin the process to pay some of the depositors. According to him, they have put a figure on it, and it is in the region of 200 million Ghana cedis.
I think we have come up with a realization that maybe over 200 million and change is outstanding. He has been apprehended in Dubai. I'm sure a committee will be put together to see how to liquidate, and whatever it is that can be found can be given to those who gave money. But government is not going to be standing in, for issues of this nature where we are very clear that it is not licensed, and the risk that you have taken.
You heard the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta there earlier today. Now, an Islamic scholar, Sheikh Arimi Al-Shaibu, has cautioned Muslim men not to misinterpret the Quran as a basis to beat their wives. His advice comes after security analyst Ribad Ibrahim posted sections of the Quran justifying why men can beat their wives. It follows a Joy News story about Habiba, the woman who was assaulted by her husband Razak Toure until her face was covered with blood. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
He had a ring on. He just kept, not the wedding band sort of.
Habiba, whose swollen, bloodshot eyes and visible marks of assault enraged many who heard her story, told Joy News last week her husband abused her verbally and physically.
I don't know at what point he punched under my eye, then blood gushed out, then I was just bleeding from my nose onto the ground.
Her husband, Razak Toure, later admitted to assaulting her and apologized.
Sent us messages of apologies, and I hope and pray, first of all, God will forgive me, and Habiba herself will also forgive me.
But she refused to continue living with abuse and reported the matter to the police. Her husband was subsequently arrested and arraigned. However, he was later freed by the court. In a video posted on Facebook and captioned, quote, Razak Toure is a free man, Razak's friend Ibrad Ibrahim announced that the suspect has been freed. This was corroborated by Razak Toure himself.
So today we thank God, everything has come to an end. Habiba herself has made it foolish case. She has withdrawn the case in a way.
But Joy News is learning it is only the criminal aspect of the case that has been withdrawn from the court. In subsequent posts, Ibrad Ibrahim sparked anger among some Ghanaians when he appeared to justify the act of spousal battery by citing Quran chapter 4, verse 34. Quote, men are in charge of women by what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend on the women from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. But Islamic scholar Sheikh Arimi Al-Shaibu has cautioned Muslim men from misinterpreting the Quran as basis to beat their wives.
If you take it literally, you make a lot of mistakes. The Prophet in his life, in his practice, he said that the best of you are those who are best to their families, and I am the best of you to my family. In other words, I am the best exemplar of how a husband or a father treats members of the household.
Maxwell Agbagba's report there. What are people talking about on social media? Maps. Tell us about it.
Okay, on Twitter, people are talking about hashtag John Mahama, and at @IceTizzle_GH says hashtag John Mahama forgets 2020 in your dreams. And at 1ill_GH says, so what if hashtag John Mahama loses tomorrow? And at Christ the King says shading pani hashtag John Mahama. And at Collins ESQ says, I've never seen anyone on top of the practical issues of his people like hashtag John Mahama.
And he's been speaking on Radio Gold earlier. He said he's described President Akufo-Addo's directive for the two leading political parties to meet to end party militia as too simplistic. Join the conversation. Still, the campaign is on. It's hashtag disband party militia now. Let's get them disbanded. And not only that, disarmed as well. I am MFA Pau. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com.